Hi, folks. This is Matt Hammond. I serve as the Director for Civil Rights, Title IX, and Student Risk Assessment, and obviously the Title IX Coordinator for the college. And so I wanted to spend a few minutes just being able to talk with you all. I appreciate the work that you do in keeping our campus safe. Campus safety is absolutely one of the most important campus partners that we have in the Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, and certainly with Title IX. I primarily, a lot of the work that I do is overseeing the non-discrimination anti-harassment policy. And that's a 58-page document. It's a lot of information. It certainly has grown over the years. You know, I've been doing this type of work now for 10 years. And our first policy actually started with 13 pages, the sexual and gender-based misconduct policy. And so it's grown. But everything that's in that policy is needed. It's all aligned with federal policy and the regulations under Title IX through the Department of Education and the Office of Civil Rights. So, as I think about what can be helpful to you all as we think about the role of Title IX and the concerns for sexual assault or sexual misconduct, whether it be dating violence, domestic violence, all those areas are things where you as campus safety officers may encounter a situation either as a first responder or an individual comes forward to the office to make a report. And so one thing that I think might be helpful, and is on our website, we kind of talk about, considerations for survivors of sexual assault. And one of the things that immediately comes to mind is, are they in a safe space, or how can they get to a safe space? I often think about medical care. And so if an incident has taken place within 72 hours, what are some of the things that an individual needs to be aware of? And certainly on our website, we talk about different steps, but I think it's important for an individual to seek some type of medical treatment. And so on the website, and I've got it pulled up now, just some of the things that we talk about are, within 72 hours, and it can be beyond that as well. But, individuals have the ability to complete a forensic exam, a sexual assault forensic exam. Some refer to that as a rape kit or a sexual assault kit. Some of the recommendations that we would always have is, that if possible, that an individual not bathe or shower, use the restroom, eat or drink, change clothes, comb your hair, clean up the crime scene, move anything the offender may have touched. I'm just looking at a few different points from our website. That's not always going to be a possibility depending on the circumstances. And I know you all know this, but the circumstances are going to be different per case, per incident, per report. And so a lot of times, if after hours especially, an individual may come to the office to make a report. They may need medical treatment. You all have been so helpful in the past in being able to transport a student to the ER, assuming they don't need to be transported through an ambulance, but they can be brought over to the emergency room for medical services. And sometimes that then is going to trigger a response from our on-call staff in campus life and student development. Just recently, Dean Wallace and I were working together on updating the on-call manual. And so that's something that I would like for you all to look at. We can kind of talk through, but essentially there's some different steps in there that state again, and it's a checklist. So, there's different things. And one of them says when a staff member receives a report of sexual assault, they should consider the following. And so one of them is, did the sexual assault occur within 72 hours? And if yes, then are they interested in medical assistance? We need to, we would ask that they contact campus safety. And so again, you would be working with, a student or an individual that may have experienced some type of sexual violence, which, at least in my experience, has been very traumatic. I say my experience, the experience in working with students. Oftentimes they may be experiencing trauma. They may be experiencing, trying to put together the pieces of their memory from the incident. And so there's a lot there that they may be confused about, or the pieces may not exactly add up while experiencing PTSD. But again, if we can, we want to get them to the hospital if they're willing, so they can seek medical treatment. I think it'd be helpful for you all to share with them that we have a process in place, and we've got, in fact, multiple processes. That might mean that my office will meet with the student. From that point, we would talk about what the resources look like both on and off campus. We would talk about what supportive measures we may be able to put in place for them. We would talk with them about the non-discrimination and anti-harassment policy. We would talk about those processes in which they can utilize, perhaps, and that might mean that there's some sort of formal investigation that takes place. That might mean that we're contacting you all in campus safety to begin a process of a criminal investigation, or at least exploring the idea. I know you all work closely with SLED, oftentimes in those investigations. And so those are some of the things that we're going to talk with a student about, is just to give them a better sense of what the options are, what the resources are, without putting any pressure on them. We want them to feel like they're empowered to make the decisions that are best suited for themselves, and to realize that they can change their mind. So they may leave a meeting with me and say, I don't want to put any measures in place, but the next day they may come back and say, I've changed my mind. I do want to request this, or I want to request that. One of the supportive measures that we often put into place related to sexual violence is a mutual no contact order. And so again, with the emphasis on the word mutual, we put that in place for both parties, and we send each party a letter, really kind of laying out what the expectations are, but essentially there's not to be any contact between the parties. That's in person, that's through third party, that's through social media or any other form of communication. They're not to have any contact. In a small campus like Wofford, sometimes the question is, well, can we be in the cafeteria at the same time together? Can we be in the Greek Village at the same time together? Can we be in the same class together at the same time? And the answer is yes, that they can be in the same space, but they can't have any contact with one another. And so that's one of the things that I always want to drive home with parties, is to help them understand what that means and what that looks like, and for them to ask any questions that they have. Anytime that we put a no contact order in place, I will always contact the chief of campus safety. I'll contact the VP for student affairs, but for campus life, to make sure that they're aware of what we've done, what we've put in place. And so that's one of the measures that we offer, and we will look to determine to make sure that's the most appropriate option for them. We don't just put any type of no contact order in place. We need to make sure that we're looking at the safety and well-being of the parties to make sure it kind of rises to a level on which a no contact order would be most appropriate. I think that's all I have for now. I'm sure there's going to be some questions, and I would love the opportunity to be able to follow up, to sit down with you all and kind of talk through what might be on your mind. But I hope this is helpful. Again, I'm located over in the Snyder House, the business office, the back part of that. I work closely with Dr. Dwayne Pruitt, who's the Chief Equity Officer. I do have a reporting structure to President Samhat as well. So anytime there's a report that comes in, I'm going to communicate with them. I'm going to communicate with campus safety. And the expectation, too, is as campus safety officers, you all serve as mandatory reporters. And so if you learn of some type of incident involving sexual assault or other forms of gender discrimination or sexual violence, the expectation is as a mandatory reporter that you're going to share that with our office. And you can do that through email. If you go to the Title IX website, you'll see a responsible employee reporting form that you can complete. But if ever you have any questions or need anything from me or my office, do not hesitate to let me know. But I think that's all I have for now. And again, I appreciate your time. I appreciate all your efforts. You have such a really crucial role on this campus, and I, again, am thankful for you. All right, take care.